Benjamin Elijah Mays once said, "I believe everyone was born into the world to do something unique and distinct." Our host has been fortunate enough to have opportunities which allowed him to discover and fulfill his unique purpose. Unfortunately, every young person has not had those same opportunities. Expanding how we understand education, building community, impacting and improving lives, promoting HBCUs, and encouraging lifelong learning. Dean Talk brings together a variety of scholars, community and business professionals, along with student leaders to discuss topics which are critical to the improvement of educational equity and equality in America. Welcome to Dean Talk. Now, your host, R. Wayne Woodson.
Good morning, everybody. It is Saturday, March 27th. I am very excited about the shows today. As you know, I have two shows. So this morning, I am talking to HBCU Queens. I am excited about that. Having served as a campus royal advisor for several years, this is an exciting day for me. And then join us again at 1 p.m. We are going to have the Kings on, and we're going to talk about what it means to be an HBCU King. So this morning, we have a great panel. We have some current queens, and we have a former queen who will be able to share a different insight on what it means, what it meant then is different from now, and how that position can impact you after graduation. Many people think that, you're a campus royal and you just walk around. And so we're just going to dispel a lot of those myths. And so I'm so glad to have Ms. Brown on with us. And so that you are aware, she is the 84th Miss North Carolina A&T State University, and she served in 2018 and 2019. And then the rest of our queens have current titles. And we have such a diversity today that I know that everyone's going to get something out of this conversation. It is, as you know, unscripted. We do not script my show. My guests don't know what I'm going to ask. However, if you have questions, feel free to put those questions in the chat box. And if we have time, or if they're relevant to what we're talking about at that moment, we will certainly be able to respond to those. And make sure that you ask questions. If you are preparing to attend an HBCU, or if you're at an HBCU and interested in running for one of these positions, this is the perfect time to get that information from the people doing the work. So without further ado, I am going to bring up my guests for today. Hey, ladies.
Good morning.
How are you all?
Doing well. How are you?
It is a great day. I'm excited about today, and I'm excited about all the information we're able to share and discuss. So before we start, let's just allow you all to do some introductions. We'll start with Ms. Brown, and then Ms. Dabney, Ms. Bellinger, and then Ms. Harper.
Well, good morning, everyone. I am Jada Brown. As he mentioned, I am the former 84th Miss North Carolina Agricultural and Technical State University, and I humbly served from the 2018-2019 academic school year. Currently, I have relocated from the South, from South Carolina, where I'm originally from, to the Maryland DMV area. And I currently hold a position at an educational technology company, working in their student engagement department. And I enjoy going out into the DC area and networking and things of that nature. So that's a little bit of what I do now.
Good morning, everyone. I am Ashley Dabney, a graduating senior at Grambling State University, where I humbly reign as the 67th Miss Grambling State University. I'm truly honored to be here this morning, very involved on campus. I currently serve as the chapter president to the Alpha Theta chapter of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, and a proud member of the President Student Leadership Initiative in the NAACP here on campus.
Great to have you. Ms. Bellinger.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Ashley Nicole Bellinger, and I hail from Miami, Florida. I have the honor of serving the 94th Miss Johnson, the title of being the crown jewel in the Queen City of Charlotte. And I'm an interdisciplinary studies major with concentrations in graphic arts and production and minor concentrations in business and on entrepreneurship. And I'm involved in honest mentoring group between us and others in the community that are women. And then I am also a Golden Bull ambassador. So if you come to campus, I might end up giving you a tour.
Sounds good. Ms. Harper.
Good morning, everybody. Bear with me. My sinuses are killing my voice. And I'm from Lambert, Mississippi. I currently serve as the 91st Miss Kentucky State University. I'm also a former cheerleader, and I also serve on the president-elected Woke Task Force. I'm the president of Breaking the Cycle, and I just do a little bit of everything. You may catch me doing a tour. You may catch me performing with cheerleaders spontaneously. I am also the social action chair of the Alpha Phi chapter of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. And thank you for having me.
I am so glad to have you all on. Just a couple of things. My mother is a Delta, so you know, she has been a Delta now for 52 years. So she is very excited about that. If I have to hear about this award one more time, I'm gonna holler. But I'm so happy for all she's done. She was an educator for 38 years. So I'm so glad to have you on. I want to start this discussion talking about lineage. A lot of people are not aware of the lineage of our campus queens. You know, when we start talking 80s and 90s or 70s, a lot of people assume that this was a recent occurrence. Unless you were actually on an HBCU campus or unless you know one, then you're like shocked. When I was at Payne, when I took the choir on tour one year, we met like the 20th Miss Payne. We're now like 97, I think. So it's just amazing about that lineage. So let's start by talking about, and I did mute everyone because when people are talking, it pulls to your mic. Let's talk about what that lineage means to you and your position, what that meant to you, and what that means to the legacy of Queens just on your campus and across the country. Feel free to unmute yourselves and we will not answer in any special order.
I'll start off. Every campus is very unique with the lineage of queens, but what I have realized on every campus is every queen brings something unique to the table, whether they are recent or back in the hundreds with their queens. Everyone has something unique to their campus, and nothing that you do is the same. It may be similar in a lot of ways, but you are unique to what your campus needs in that particular time. I know for us serving right now, we are considered the COVID queens, and it's very different with our reigns, our mentals, how we're handling things. If you were running to walk at a football game or a basketball game, then you're realizing then it's bigger than that right now. So every queen definitely has something different that they're bringing, and the inspiration and impact, because it definitely changes over time.
Thank you. Who's it next, Ms. Brown?
Yeah, I can speak to that. That's one of the bigger parts of being a queen, is recognizing that you represent so much more than yourself. The women who've come before me in this seat, we like to call them mother queens. They mean so much because they help instill in you the legacy that you're walking into. Because one thing that I realized, and that I was also taught, is that no person can tell you what it means to be a Miss Community if you have not sat in the seat. So that's the thing about the legacy in itself, is having that community and that bond and that sisterhood, having those women rally around you and having that village. So that's very important. But as Ashley mentioned, it's way more than walking around a football track or waving to a crowd. You are the face of a brand, a HBCU brand at that. And that's something that was really instilled in me. And you don't really know that that's what you're walking into until you're actually in the seat. And the legacy, like I've gotten to meet women from years ago who sat in this seat, and it did look completely different because they might have been going through a time where Blacks weren't welcome in certain areas, and the way that they were advocating for certain things, and in that time period would look totally different. just to be a woman in power on their campus. So it's definitely unique to every campus, but that just shows that we have so much work to do, because it's still things to this day as a figure on campus that you're representing the women of your campus, and whatever is the niche at that time. As you guys called yourself the COVID queens, I'm sure that it's things that I cannot identify with in regards to what you guys have experienced in your legacy and what you bring to the legacy at your campus.
Ms. Harper, Ms. Bellinger, one of you next. Okay.
To me, it's been remarkable and at the same time very historical. Just having them share their different experiences and adventures with me, and having that extra family that relates to what I'm going through. A lot of people assume that, it's just the crown, it's just the pictures, but I have an entire support system of people before me who, although they can't relate to my timing right now, they relate to the work ethic. They relate to, knowing the insiders, that it's not just waking up and making sure that I look good, but also that I'm able to pour into somebody. A lot of what I do affects not only myself, but it also affects every woman on my campus, because ultimately it's like a mirror reflection. Everything that I do, everything that I am, everything I represent, it not only reflects every woman on my campus, but it also reflects every woman before me. So to me, the lineage is unique in aspects, but at the same time, it's still relatable, and it's still something that's enjoyable and something that you can gain a lot from.
I know that for me, it's a little bit different because I have like my own little spin and take, especially with the fact of my mom went to Johnson C. Smith University and she ended up being the first attending Miss JCSU. So
Well,
had a link to it because I've always watched my mom and then seen her pictures and videos from way back in the 80s. And I can tell you it's totally different on the court now, and the experiences that I've had when I sit down and have conversations with her about it, especially in the fact of my mom always instilled in me, along with my dad, that you never know where you're going in the future unless you know where you've been in the past. So with that being something that I always grew up with, I always wanted to learn more about the way that Smith was before I got there, because not only is it something that every Smith student or every HBCU student should do to look into the past of their university to realize from whence you came, but also because sometimes looking back will give you the solution. And I know that a lot of the times that I've had while being a COVID queen, I've had to ask former queens, well, how did you guys do this, and that? And I didn't realize how welcoming or warm everybody would be, to the point where now we have a whole group chat where it's multiple queens from multiple decades. And even all the way back from the 60s are still participating actively on campus whenever I call, or I'd be like, you guys, I'm confused. They're right there waiting to help. And even to the fact of a few days ago, I had to explain what an HBCU queen was to multiple individuals that didn't know what it was. And them learning that I was number 94, they're like, oh, you guys have been around for a long time. This isn't new. No, it's not new. And explaining that HBCU queens were also brought about to combat different beauty standards that were there at the time and then that are still prevalent today. So although the face of HBCU queen may have changed in terms of modern times, we're still combating some of the same negative stereotypes and things associated with Black women that happened way back then.
and I'm glad you brought that up. I am going to shift for a moment. I'm sure all of you saw, I'm here in Georgia, our state representative being escorted out and arrested at our state capitol this week for knocking on a door. And this goes directly to what Ms. Bellinger is saying in terms of Black women still dealing with the same things that were being fought for in the 60s. When you all think of those images, especially as the female representation for a large group of people that really look to you all, whether you're currently sitting or a former queen, look to you for guidance, for the example, for the manners in which they will deal with this. And even young girls who might even still be in middle school and high school look up to you all as a standard. When you see images like that, there's now a meme going on that refers it right back to a similar situation in '62. What are your thoughts when you see that? What goes through your mind? What do you say, okay, I can do such and such to help change this? We'll start with Ms. Brown.
Well, I would say first and foremost, I think the first thing that comes to my mind is that we have so much more work to do. And it is unfortunate that we still have that kind of work to do, but I think that to whom much is given, much is required. So with that, I would say that's the first thing that comes to my mind. It's like we have realizing that it's still work to be done. And then the next thing is execution. Like, so what can I do to help bridge this gap that we still have? And so when it comes to the younger generation, that's my heart. I have a strong niche for young people. And so that would be my targeted area because I grew up learning that it starts young. When it comes to the influences, what you feed your children as far as knowledge and their mentality. And sometimes I do feel that as a Black community, we have not done the best job of nurturing our kids to let them know who they are, where they come from, how strong they are, and how important they are, and that they can too be change agents in the world. And it doesn't have to start when you're an adult or when you're having this massive movement going on. It can start as early as you walking in a march at a young age. And so making sure that you bring awareness is the first thing that I would say to the younger generations, and making sure you're having these household conversations about what is still going on out here in the world. And it's unfortunate that we still see things like what happened in Georgia, but not hiding those things from our children and our young adults as well, and making sure that they understand that this can happen to you too, and having those tough conversations, but necessary conversations. But also talking, something even moving to the DMV area that I wanted to learn more about is becoming very more well-rounded when it comes to the political climate, and making sure that that's not a strange conversation in the household as well. So you know your rights, you know what to do when you're faced with authorities and things of that nature. That's not a conversation that's coming up later on. And also teaching our children self-defense when something happens, and learning the right things to say in moments that are when they're shown adversity and things like that. So I feel like that would be one of the first things that comes to my mind, is to attack the younger generation, because if you instill it early, when it's time for them to grow up, they can pass it down. And that will be what helps us push some of these narratives forward and try to combat some of these things that unfortunately are still happening today.
And I think you brought up a very interesting point right there, that we need to have a lot of these conversations in our household on the front end. Like you said, it is too late, unfortunately, afterwards. I mean, being an AUC grad, when I saw last summer those students yanked out that car and tased and thrown all over the place, you know, it is very difficult. Thank God they're here, but many do not make it past that point. And there are a lot that are killed or that die that we don't even hear about.
Right.
So I think you make a very valid point. We need to start having those conversations on our campuses, in our communities, with our peers, because it's too late when you're in the situation.
Absolutely.
But thank you for bringing that up. What are your thoughts, Ms. Bellinger?
I know that growing up, although I'm in my Florida and I still do, growing up here, although it's a cultural melting pot, you still face a lot of the issues in terms of people comparing your skin tone to certain things and associating things with you, especially when you're a Black woman. And I remember going through school where I was always one of a few and never one of many, especially with the fact that my elementary school was on the University of Miami's campus, and it's a really big PWI, and there was only 5 of us in the school, to the point where years later, we're all in college now, but we still have camaraderie between each other because of some of the experiences I had to face in elementary school. So it kind of forced those conversations, especially in my household, to happen very young. So it made me very open and receiving to having conversations later on in life where my friends were looking at me like I was crazy. There was one friend that I call him a friend because after a while we did gain a rapport to the point where it was a friendship. He was in class with me and a lot of his views were very polarizing and very interesting. And a lot of the Black children that were in school with me was like, well, why are you talking to him? Well, why are you even engaging with him? Just leave him alone. He's a racist. He's this, he's that. If he's never interacted fully with African American people, the only thing he knows is what his family has been telling him and what the news or what the media tells him. And we all know that we are very much misrepresented in the media. So having those type of conversations, being open to not only having them on the inside of our community, but also the outside, because a lot of people be like, I didn't know. I never knew. I didn't know that's how you guys view things or that's how you all are treated. And then even to the point when I was 12 years old, I have a little baby sister. She's 11 years apart from me. And we realized we couldn't find a t-shirt with a Black girl on it for her school picture day one day. I told my mom, she gave me the shirt, I would customize the shirt. Y'all know my mom was just like, no, you're not going to waste my $12. So I told her I'd pay her back. And I ended up starting a business because of that, where I have little brown girls on shirts because I just couldn't find one for my little sister. And I wanted her to feel beautiful and know that she was just as pretty as any other girl on any other shirt in order to promote self-love and acceptance, because I knew that that was something that I struggled with growing up and I didn't want her to go through that. So it's branched out even more since then. And whenever a little tiny baby girl comes up to the thing and then she's pointing or she says, that one looks like me, it makes me have the warm fuzzies because I know I'm doing something, although I don't feel like it's enough at this point in time because a lot is going on. It's something.
Well, you might actually be doing more than you think, because you are promoting a positive self-image in the formative years. And that is when, unfortunately, a lot of the damage is done. And it's often hard, when you get to college, for us to correct 18 years of negativity. And that's why we have so many of the challenges. I was the vice president of student affairs, and that's why we have a lot of challenges at the college level, because we are trying to break down nearly 20 years of damage. And so I think what you're doing is probably more impactful than you think, because those young girls will also go places expecting to see themselves, which is not always the case. And that's powerful when you show up in a place and expect to see yourself. And when you don't, you can make some different decisions. And that might be, this is not a place I'm going to stay. So I think you're probably doing a lot of positive things. Miss Dabney, what are your thoughts?
Let me shift back for a moment to the incident that happened in Georgia. Very disheartening, but at this point in our lives, we are not shocked by these things that are happening, that will continue to happen. I think as student leaders, it is essential for us to know the platforms that we have go beyond the social media and the Instagram posts, and go beyond serving for that tenure while we're at HBCU king, queen, or SGA president. The simple fact of it is, we're not in the spaces that we think we are. By the grace, we have a Black woman who is our vice president of the United States, and several Black people who are doing amazing things across our country. But like Jada said, our work is not done. It will never be done. As Black people, we are truly a threat to society because they know how powerful we are. That's why a lot of things have happened back in the day, and they will continue to happen. But that doesn't mean we stop. That doesn't mean our fight stops. That doesn't mean our hunger stops, because at some point we have to know that the cause is bigger than us. It goes beyond, like I said, our campuses. It goes beyond our communities, and we have to invest into our lives of the children that come before us and after us. Not only serving on your campuses, but people have to understand you have to serve in your communities. You have to go back to help those people because someone helped you. So we have to understand the real issue at hand, and the issue is that we are a threat to society.
Well, you are very right. I don't think anybody on the panel or watching can deny that. If we even go back to slavery, that is why we were treated in the manner we were. You bring people who from royal families, from another continent, the only way for you to get them to do what you want is to totally break them down and destroy them. And I mean, after 200 years of that, I believe exactly what you all are saying. We still have a lot of work to do because unfortunately there are parts of our current communities that are still perpetuating that type of violence and control. And we have a lot of work to do in areas to remove that. What are your thoughts, Ms. Harper?
Okay, I couldn't get unmuted, but to just be mindful of what you do. Anybody on my campus will tell you I'm very vocal and I'm very intuitive when it comes to my campus. I want to know what bothers you. You feel like the police are doing this or doing that? Let's speak with them and see how we can meet in the middle. I'm in the capital city of Kentucky. Breonna Taylor, that was right up the road from me, and these are things that we deal with on the day to day. I'm from Mississippi. I know segregation. My hometown is still segregated to this day. If you're of a different descent, if you're white, you go to the private school. And if you're black, you go to the public school. If you can't afford private school, you either go to Batesville, they pay a little extra money to go there, or we'll have like one or two top white people in our school. So just having that experience, my parents were military, so I didn't move around a lot. Being able to relate and hear both sides, I feel like is very important too, because as Ms. Brown said earlier, and not Ms. Brown, but Ashley Bellinger said, sometimes you have to be willing to have these conversations. Some people don't know. A lot of stuff is done out of ignorance. A lot of it is repeated learned behavior. And it's up to us to be able to be in those uncomfortable positions and say, okay, well, that is a myth. We have to be willing to actually debunk those things. I'm very, very, very vocal on my campus when it comes to the racial tension and things we face in Kentucky. This upcoming Monday, I have a march to a Capitol where I'm speaking about the Crowns Act to young Black girls that look like me, that see me in this position and recognize that all this semester, Miss KSU didn't wear anything but her real hair or braids, because it's important for us to be able to not only relay the message, but be a part of the movement. I can tell you something, but if I'm doing the complete opposite, or I'm also praising a standard that's not my own, there's no validation in what I'm saying. There's no true depth to what I'm doing. Everything I do is surrounded by the rebuilding and the restructure of the community and the mind. The theme of my Miss KSU Women's Conference Week was uprooted and replanted, because how can we be rooted in something that we don't even truly identify with ourselves? What is the culture? What is the standard? It's up to us to uproot standards that were poured into us by somebody that wasn't us, and tell our own versions of our history, tell our own versions of our culture, tell our own stories. I was a part of Woke Task Force, which is a social action task force created by our President Brown. We came up with the "Will I Be Next" theme. Will I be next to be shot and killed in my bedroom? Or will I be next to be the next lawyer? Will I be the next black VP? What will I be next to be? It's up to me, but at the same time, it's also up to every person that doesn't understand me to learn about me, so that you don't cut my chances short and I don't cut yours off. A lot of things are done out of fear. At the end of the day, everybody's human. Some things are not done because of, oh, I'm racist or I'm a bigot, but sometimes I'm scared. I see social media just like you see social media. I remember this was a couple weeks ago, and I was with my friends. We just left a party, and the police pulled us over. They were just getting ready to shut everything down, and they just happened to pull us over. So he told us, he was like, where y'all coming from? And we told him we came from a party. So if you smell anything, I don't do drugs. I was at a party, how college kids are. And he was pretty much like, did you know in the state of Kentucky that regardless if you do it or not, if we smell it, we can search your car, just informing us. And my friend automatically got extremely hostile. And, while the police was going back to his car, I'm like, there's a respect thing. He's in charge right now. Our life is ultimately in his hands. If he comes to us respectful, we owe it to him to offer him that same respect in return. We know that we didn't do anything. You know, he could pull us out of here. He wouldn't find anything. It's cool. But at the same time, it's like, if we're both, there doesn't need to be a struggle for power. We're not in control of this race right now. So what we need to do is listen to what he's saying, take the jewels that he's dropping and pass them on. I even thanked him for, you know, giving us that bit of information, because now I need to be mindful as to where I go and what settings I'm putting myself in, because what if I run into the wrong cop? Because we know that it's very real for police to plant things on you and do things of that nature just to be a pest. So him sharing that information made me, one, more aware of my surroundings and who I'm allowing in my space. And two, it just showed me that a lot of times there's just a miscommunication through fear. Everybody's afraid. I'm afraid of what you can do to me. You're afraid of what I can do to you. So I actually ended up calling the Frankfort County Police Office and asking that police officer, come and share what you share with us, with fellow students. Share how you think we should respond and what can guarantee us a way back home. Because we know that children aren't always going back home off of verbal misunderstanding. So he was actually, he agreed to do it. I'm actually working on contacting the police chief neighbors right now as we speak, so that we can set this thing up and hopefully also teach our women on campus and our male students some combative and defensive skills, so that, you know, we just don't, you know, we're always able to protect ourselves, not only with our words, but if we're put in a position of physical attack, we're able to defend ourselves and protect ourselves, because we are aware that there are some aspiring vigilantes that want to take the law into their own hands or take society into their own hands. So what can we do to guarantee that we make it back home?
I think something that you brought up is very important. And I'm trying to get more people to say every police officer is not against us. Now, there are bad, I'm not going to lie, there are bad police officers, there are bad people in any field that we can really look at. So I think Ms. Harper make up a very valid point. One, I tell all my godchildren, do what you need to do to get home. We'll deal with the rest of it afterwards. But do what you need to do to get home. And like you say, if the police officer is being respectful and sharing the information so that you are aware, there's really no reason at that point to become combative and shift the conversation negative. Because if the officer is in a state of fear and you shift that conversation that way, then they're going to shift as well. And that can go bad very easily, just all the way left.
And just to tap back in, my grandma always raised us in Mississippi. And she told me, I've never met a police that was a lawyer. So if he's still in that uniform, guess what? He don't have a law degree. You argue your case in court. You don't argue with no police.
Very wise words. I mean, nobody can argue with that. I want to just shift now to perception. And it was brought to me with Ms. Harper's statement. Most people see you all as women who wear crowns and, you know, wear fancy clothes, and, you know, everybody caters to your needs if they only knew how much work is going on behind the scenes. I'll be honest, I did not fully understand until I became a royal court advisor, and it's 3 o'clock in the morning and we trying to find some eyelashes or, you know, we trying to get on a plane. So I have a whole different respect now. I will admit I was one of those people before. Like, yeah, this is a whole lot of just stuff. But let's dispel that myth. So what is the reality of being a campus queen? I know it's a hard question, but we have people that are watching and will watch, they want to be one. And I don't want people to run for these positions because they think they just get a crown and they get to sit around and look nice all the time.
Right. So to come in and just kind of dive in on this question, what does it look like? Well, I like the fact that when we first started the conversation that we acknowledged that every reign is unique. So it's unique to the time that you're going through on your campus and what that community and what your campus needs at that time. So coming into the seat of what the reality of being a queen is, I would say for my campus at my time during my reign, first I was told, you know, you're here to work. You're a service agent. Your job is community service. Your job is to be the liaison between the campus and the community and making sure that you're being the representative for the women of the student body, but also an advocate to uplift these young kings on campus as well, which I felt that was not done enough prior to me coming in, just to be honest. So one of the things that I would say the reality is, for every court, some schools take on the financial burden of clothes and stuff like that. That was not the case for my reign. A lot of things people thought, oh, she's so glamorous. I was going to Burlington and Ross and doing things that I could do at the local beauty supply hair store, and trying to keep the image up to make sure I was representing A&T to the best of my ability for my pocket, because I was still a broke college student with no job. Academics was my first priority, and it still is. So the reality is that you are a student leader. And I think that some people forget the student part because of all of this stuff right here, So that's the reality. You are just a liaison. You're a servant. That is what your job is. And so if you want to, anyone watching, anyone who aspires to be any type of leader, whether a queen on your campus or just in a small organization, because I came from a small organization, first and foremost, Miss A&T was something that I didn't even think I had the ability to do. And so it took everyone around me encouraging me and telling me, like, you're selling yourself short, for me to wake up and realize that I was such a servant that people wanted me in this seat. So to me, this was God ordained. This is something I was running away from, to be quite frankly honest with you all. And we can talk about that a little later. But in regards to the reality of it all, you're a servant. You just have a title that comes with it, and you get to look cute while doing it. But at the end of the day, I think that people have this misconception that, and I love that Miss Kentucky talked about, like, I'm wearing my natural hair. I'm not going to do what it is that you think I should do. And that was one of the things that I felt that a lot of my mother queens had an issue with, but I had a big issue with coming into my role. I didn't want to wear a skirt suit. I didn't want to always have my hair straight. I wanted to make sure that I was representing all of the women as best as I could, and that I could afford to do it at the same time as well. And so I love that during my reign, my sister queens, we came together and we did something like Natural November, making sure that across the HBCU network that we are showing you all, like, what it means to be authentically yourself, and standing firmly in that. And making sure that you're unapologetic about it. And so the reality is that not only are you a student, your academics are first, but you're also a community leader. We want to see that you're reaching back and doing the work that's needed in that campus and in that community at the time. And so the reality is, it's cute on the outside, but it's hard to live up to the standard what everyone wants you to be. Someone's going to be unhappy at some point with the choices that you make. It was a lot of things that I think we campaign about, or that we would like to bring to campus, that don't actually come to fruition when you get into the role. And so my president, my Student Government Association president, she wanted my court to tackle the food insecurity in Greensboro. So she had this strategic plan about what she wanted our board to do. So all of these things that I thought I was going to come in and do, even that wasn't relevant to what she thought we were supposed to do or what was the need at the time. So reality of being in this seat is meeting the need and being a servant first.
I am not used to muting myself, but today I'm trying to mute myself because my dogs are in here and they are chomping on these toys, and I do not want it to be heard by everybody. So my apologies. Ms. Harper, what are your thoughts?
I always say it's all glitz and glamour. It's all cute until you see me ugly cry. And I'm extremely close with, like, my advisors. I'm extremely close with, like, the SGA staff, because I work on both. I'm extremely close and transparent with my court. So a lot of things are like, okay, I need to go in my office. I need to cry, let it out, because something's not going right. And I got to figure out how to adapt and make it work. a lot of things, especially during conference week. This is the first time I've had to serve during a pandemic. So just trying to make it work and trying to cater to everybody in what I feel like is a true reflection of myself, my work ethic, and my vision for the campus. It was stressful. Like, it's been rough because a lot less time is going into the football games and walking across, the football field and the basketball courts, and a lot more service is getting done. I came in at the peak of the racial tension. I came in at the peak of George Floyd, of Breonna Taylor, of all those things. I'm at an HBCU. I had to come up with answers. I had to make my campus feel safe. I'm coming in at a peak of sex trafficking. Just last week, I gave away rape buzzers. So if you pull the string, they sound off a really, really, really loud alarm. So just finding innovative ways to still get things done and still be appealing. A lot of freshmen, they didn't have the ideal freshman experience. Trying to still give them that. I had like a social distance slam poetry night where we all had to spread out and be super far. Everybody had to keep their mask on, but students were able to come out on stage and reflect on how they were feeling. They were able to rap. They were able to do spoken word. If they wanted to paint, they could paint. And I actually had students come up to me and say, wow, Miss KSU, this felt like old K-State. And to me, that was a win. Like, of course, we couldn't hug on each other. We couldn't, just be around each other. But I gave them a platform where self-expression was allowed. So just trying to, I don't know, it's so hard to put into words because right now so many things are at hand and we're looked to combat all of those things. If the water in the dorms is cold and they need hot water, they coming to me. A lot of students forget that, y'all, I'm a regular student. Like, my water was cold this morning too. Like, we gotta work together. I know. So I'm in that awkward position where the staff is looking at me like, okay, you're Miss KSU, but guess what? I still need that assignment when it's due. And the students are looking at me like, okay, yeah, you're a student. We probably have class together, but this was wrong. I didn't like the food today. I need you to do something about that. Like, everybody is seeing me so different. And then I'm stuck with the task of like, okay, what can I do in the middle to give them a little bit of what they want, give them a little bit of what they want, and then still have time for me to be able to breathe and actually just take it all in. I was only at K-State for a year when I won. I transferred in. So just like you said, Ms. Brown, I think I actually said in my debate that, to question my timing is to question God's timing. I was not interested at all in running for Miss K-State. That was not it. Like, it wasn't my thing. I actually had people, the former Miss K-State, she had lunch. Like, I could sit by myself. She would sit at my table every day. Like, you ever thought about this? What's your opinion on this? You ever thought about running for Miss KSU? I'm like, no. Like, no. I literally told her no 3
That was
times.
God.
Like,
That was him. I can tell you that up front. When things just kind of keep coming back around through a year and you keep running, one thing that I learned from my parents and my grandmother, that you can run all you can, you can still fall on your knees. It's gonna come, you're gonna get you one way or another. And like I said, it happened. Like, we're here, obviously, all of us are here. But I think something that you said, and if it's okay that I interject, you said something about how do I meet the need for these people and how do I meet the need for these people. One thing that my president was really big about informing the students on was making people aware of your position in the job. What is your job? So if you're calling me about the water in the dorm, let me direct you to house in the residence life. Let me give you the number and the contact of who you need to be contacted. Because don't come to a school and just exist. Know your campus. Know what's going on. Know who I need to contact for XYZ. And I think that's something that we have to do a lot better at on our HBCU campus, so our people can feel like they're not just getting a check. Like, these people are getting paid to be here to service us. So we are communicating is for the representation, but we are a word that I learned and I overuse now is liaison. So communicating, over communicating. Oh, this is how I can help you. These are the people that I need to connect you with so you can know what's going on. Or make sure you check this website so you can stay updated when the water and things of that nature. So you're not taking on such a weight of how do I fix it? How do I fix it? What do I do? And that was something as a queen I learned in the rain. I didn't know it before, but I learned over time, make these people utilize their resources and make sure you're educating them and making them aware of their campus. If you're going to be somewhere for 3 to 4 years, don't go all 3 to 4 years and access certain information. I think once you start learning how to say no, that NO is so
delegate.
so it's so important as a student leader and as a queen, especially you said something about sex trafficking and stuff. I know with sexual assault battles during my rants, ultimately, and I had so many women coming to me, and it was so overwhelming. You wouldn't imagine like getting a call at 3 a.m. about something that happened, to a young lady. It's so unfortunate. And I have to go to the board of trustees with my president and other attorney generals and things of that nature. Those are the type of calls I'm getting. So I'd rather get that call and help service that young woman over the call about, unfortunately, the lights being off in the dorm. There's certain things you got to learn the battles of when to say no. Another reality piece, going back to your question, Dr. Woodson, about this position, learning how to say no and knowing your job title and making sure that your students know your job title too. They're not trying to put too much on you there.
And, I always used to tell my queens that, the people don't care. They don't care that you have other stuff to do. They don't care that you have classes, that you are in some of the same classes with them, eating in the same cafeteria without water. They don't care. Your job is to fix it. And I would always help them understand that you also have to help the community at large understand that you can't fix everything. The moment that you start trying to meet everyone's need, then people are going to keep expecting you to do it. And like Ms. Brown said, help direct them, even if you have to walk them to the maintenance people to discuss the hot water. It makes a bigger impact, and having been an administrator, it makes a bigger impact when more than one student is always the one with the complaint. If there are multiple students with issue, okay, God, this is bigger than we thought. We need to go fix this. Every student has a voice, and I tell people all the time, the people with the loudest and most important voice on the campus are the students. Unfortunately, what I have found is that our students tend to go to social media and tell all of our schools dirty business all over the place, which really does not solve the problem. The problem is still there. You are a social media generation, I understand. We were the ones that would take 20 people and storm into the vice president's office and say, we don't have adequate food in the cafeteria. And at Morehouse now, they have a brand new cafeteria now, there's amenities. We have one room that serves rice and gravy with everything. But you also have to understand you're not fighting for your current peers. You are fighting for the future of the student body moving forward. And I don't think a lot of people understand the work that's going on behind the scene with our Royals that they will never possibly even experience. If you all are fighting for new cafeteria or new residence halls or upgrades, you all are going to be out of office before any of that stuff happens. And you are like Ms. Brown said, you all are liaisons, but also the catalyst for change. The people who make the change are in administrative offices. And every student has a right to go visit. Ms. Bellinger, Ms. Dabney, do either of you have any thoughts on this topic?
I will just wrap up what everyone said because it's so true. But what I can say, what I have learned, especially being Ms. G, is in this role, you will make a lot of sacrifices. A lot of sacrifices sometimes your own court won't even understand. And like you said, Dr. Woodson, they don't understand that you don't have water sometimes. I remember my room flooded and no one on the campus knew. They didn't care. So you're still a student. You still have a lot of work and the graduation stress is really serious. So people don't understand that, but you were elected to serve and you have to understand that sometimes as a leader, you have to make those sacrifices. And I get that the no is a real thing, because I really had to learn that no, I can't be at everything. No, I can't show up, but I have to show up for what's important. And my students are important. So if there is an issue, yes, we are definitely a social media generation. I have tried to break it, but it takes a while to break a habit. You have to meet your students where they are. If you see that your students are on social media going crazy about an issue, whether it's the CAF, their refund checks, anything that the issue may be, it may be small to you, but to them that may be bigger. So you have to meet them where they are. If your students are social media people like mine are, then you need to go make a tweet and say, we understand this concern is going on. Please give administration time to allow things to be fixed. If your dean is on social media, I always add Dean Wade and say, he can answer this question. If I can't find it, let me go find someone who can. Let's meet, let's sit down and talk about this issue. So it's just kind of meeting the students where you are, but understanding that there will be a lot of sacrifices and a lot of meetings that no one knows about. And you are absolutely correct. There's a lot of changes that get done through your administration that you will never see the benefits. You will never experience those things, but it's okay, because you're not in this position for you. You're in it for the greater good of your campus and those who will come after you. So when your grandkids go to that particular university.
Ms. Bellinger?
I can attest to everything that was said by all of the queens on this call, along with yourself. And especially in the fact of, I was running away from my position too, y'all. To the point where it was constantly a conversation that one of the faculty and staff was having with me almost once a week, like, Ashley. I'm just like, I don't know. And then it literally came down to, again, my mommy is my treasure trove. So she came and she was just like, okay, well, we see that the application process is open. Do you honestly feel like if you don't do it, you would never regret not doing it? And I was just like, okay, good point. So then I went and I did the application process. But our school is unique in the fact of, we didn't go back to campus at all this year. So it's been totally virtual. I have not seen another Smithite aside from my mommy for this whole year of senior year. So it's trying to keep students engaged at time, trying to make sure things are still happening on campus. So when they do come back, they see some changes for some of the things that they advocated for. And it's also at the same time, this group of freshmen are a whole nother level of resilient in the fact of, especially for the ones with Smith, they've never even stepped on Smith's campus. And they go as hard as any other class on campus, if not more. And it's a special moment in seeing and being able to reach back and make sure, which one of the things that I'm very big upon, I'm very big on our freshmen, because they haven't had some of the experiences that the rest of us have been afforded. Their senior years of high school have been affected by COVID, and now their freshman year of college has as well. And choosing to go to a HBCU gives you a certain experience that you don't have at other schools. So they're also getting robbed of one more year of being able to stand in the fact that they are young, gifted, and Black, and not having to defend that for years while they're in school. So it's a different type of experience. And I always tell the students, my inbox, because yes, we are a social media generation, my inbox is open. I'll be calling, texting, emailing different faculty and staff, be like, did you talk to this person? Well, did you talk to this person? Oh, well, you didn't talk to that one. Okay, well, this one is this one, going through the chains of commands and also helping the students learn themselves. So when I'm long gone, they're still able to advocate for themselves when I'm 2-3 years post and coming back at homecoming or SkyAA trying to figure out, well, what are y'all up to? So I honestly say it really has been an experience being a COVID queen, and then also, again, learning to say no. There was a whole weekend during my reign where I just went away and detached from everything. I made sure everything was done before I left, but I had to get into a little bubble to just breathe. So yes.
Well, I think that's important too, and that's a life lesson. Self-care is important, and no one is responsible for managing your self-care but you. And unfortunately, when you're in these types of positions, people don't understand that you're going through your own stuff. You know, I've had my queens and kings come to my office to have full-fledged breakdowns. Like, my office is a safe space. Do that here, because you can't do that out there. because it's going to be a whole big thing. But, you know, I've had one who like lost a sibling, like at the beginning of the year. You know, life is still happening. And even for those of you who are serving during COVID, you're still experiencing the impact of COVID yourselves. And contrary to what your schools or the community may think, like that's impacting you all. You all are not with your teachers. And the positive thing about HBCUs is there is such a sense of community that is built into that experience that has been absent now for over a year. And so the work that you're doing is really going to be critical when these schools start fully opening back up and these freshmen who have never seen the school really and had any of these experiences get back on these campuses, because you still want them to understand what is uniquely your institution. And that is something Ms. Brown said, I think, in her opening statement. Like every institution is unique, and I think Ms. Dabney too. But we enculturate you during that freshman year, during which you have now been at home. That is when a lot of young ladies and young men decide, I think I might want to be this position and start, you know, following around the campus queen. It's the funniest thing I've ever seen, all the freshmen following her around. But so those things, a lot of what you all have brought up today is important. In our closing, I would like for you all to share one or two things that are critical for your success and that could help the next person. We'll start with Ms. Harper, then Ms. Dabney, Ms. Bellinger, and then we'll wrap up with Ms.
Brown. Two things that I want to relate to my success. My first one is come in with delegation. Don't be afraid to delegate. You can't be a part of everything. So definitely reach out and extend yourself to those resources. My second would be always identify your whys. Why are you doing this? Who are you going to impact? Is this true to you? And is it true to those that you represent? Because sometimes those won't always align. And you have to be willing to step out and sacrifice your wants for the wants of those that you represent and those that are around you. So identify your whys and delegate.
Ms. Dabney? She's unmuted. Technology work until it doesn't. We can't hear you, Ms. Dabney. So I'm going to go to Ms. Bellinger and then I'll come right back to you. Ms. Bellinger?
So one saying that I've been telling myself this whole year is the hard work and dedication will give you the celebration. So going through everything, trying to get everything done now, once graduation day hits, I'm probably, like Miss Harper said that she does, I'm probably going to go ugly cry in a corner. And makeup is probably going to be gone and everything. And then the last thing that I've been telling myself this whole time is pour into the people that have poured into you. There's a lot of different instances that have happened on campus where a student doesn't know has impacted me, or faculty and staff doesn't know has impacted me, and they'll never know until those conversations finally happen. Like, hey, did you know that such and such happened, and when you did this, it made me feel like this, so it made me want to do something for somebody else on campus. So those are the two things that have been getting me through this whole year.
Ms. Dabney?
I'm sorry, can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, great. I have really learned that you have to be open to change. Sometimes we may not be as open or adaptable as we think we are, but no matter what position you decide to serve in, you will definitely have to be open to that, because like everyone has expressed, there's a lot of things that the administration will want to happen and you will realize has to happen on your campus, and the need is greater than you. And also you have to understand the importance of what it means to serve. There's a lot of definitions out there, but you fully have to know your purpose for being on your campus, because everyone is appointed by God for that position in some form. So you have to know your purpose for wanting to serve and do it with your full heart, because if you don't, it truly will show in some essence. It might not show right away, but it truly will show. So I definitely have learned, and whatever you do, do it with a genuine spirit, and the reward will come. You may not get that reward or that stipend that you dreamed of or have the reign or tenure that you dream of. But I'm telling you, the reward will come for you being obedient by just serving your institution.
And I think we're at you, Ms. Brown.
Yes, and I'm going to go into a little bit of what Ashley even mentioned here. So I would say what's attributed to my success is standing firm on really what my platform was when I ran. It was the 3 P's: purpose, persistence, prosperity. And purpose, it was walking into your purpose. So I think Miss KSU said something about identifying your why. That covers that. Your purpose, why are you here? And if you don't quite know yet, what do I need to do so I can help identify that? Persistence, maintaining persistence. If you're not consistent, if you're not going to be willing to be dedicated, I think Ms. Bellinger, you mentioned that, being dedicated, remembering that, saying that to yourself over and over again. You have to have some type of work ethic, and you have to be dedicated to the purpose. And so if you do those 2 things, you will prosper. Prosperity is something that will come. So that's that success that you're talking about, Dr. Wilson, in regards to what will come out of it. The result is going to come out. Everything you invest is going to come out tenfold. And so if you believe in that, if you walk into your purpose, if you remain persistent in everything that you do, you will prosper in the end. And when you do that, other people are watching that. And sometimes your success is really others succeeding at what they're doing. And sometimes making that impact and pouring into each other, that village, it does truly take a village. And that's what HBCUs are all about. Making sure that you remember that you cannot do this by yourself. You won't win alone. So remembering that you're standing on the shoulders of your ancestors, those who came before you, and that someone too will be standing on yours. So being sure that you're standing firm in who you are, what we represent as HBCU queens and kings, and making sure you propel that message forward is something that I would say has attributed to my success and what will attribute to those that come after me.
Well, ladies, thank you all for joining me this morning. This has been great. I am getting all of these emails. It's so funny to me. Sometimes people don't go in the chat box. They will send me all these emails and text messages that are popping up on the screen. But thank you to everyone who's watching. Make sure you like and share this video. Ladies, I'll be right back with you. So make sure you like and share this video. We want to make sure that anybody who's interested in attending an HBCU has an experience with what the excellence is on our campus. If you are on a campus and interested in running for your campus queen position, you got some real insight today about that. Reach out to your current queen and get some insight, get feedback. Make sure that you have the information you need on the front end, because as the queens just said, it is not just about the glamour that people see. There's a lot of stuff that goes on behind the scenes that makes each of them successful and makes our HBCU queens across the country successful. I just have a few things that, of course, my team expects me to do during shows. One, we are still open for season sponsors for Dean Talk and From the Desk of the Dean. They're both educational platforms, and we look at education from various aspects. We have opportunities at every level. So if you own a business or if you are an individual interested in supporting the work we're doing, info@rwaynewoodson.com is the best way to reach us. And I am excited always to make sure that you are connected with me and the work that I'm doing through my personal consulting and through the Woodson Institute by making sure you are attached to every one of my social platforms. All of them do something different. And so we want to make sure that you are connected, and that's Dr. Woodson 2020 on all platforms. And finally, you all know that we have been fortunate enough over the last couple of months that Java 365 has been one of our sponsors. They have a new opportunity. This is a Black coffee company. I have switched their coffee, and I'm a coffee junkie and love it. If you use the code Woodson20, they will make a contribution off every purchase to the Woodson Foundation Scholarship Fund. So the website is there. Get Java 365. If you are a coffee person, try to use them, and they will help support the work that we are doing across the country. Again, thank you all for watching today, and do not forget, 1 p.m., I am going to have HBCU Kings on the show today. It is all about HBCU royalty today. Thank you. Have a great day, and I hope you enjoy the show. And don't forget to share it.